All right, we are live for the Big Shots Extra episode number 8. I am your co-host Devin Jackson, joined by my other co-host Nick Price. No Mike today because he is working till after 8 o'clock. But Nick, it's me and you today. How you doing today, man?
Not too bad. It's Friday. I got paid. I'm drinking beer, and the NFL's in chaos, so
Yeah, we
all is
can
right with
get
the world.
right into. Yeah, well, I won't get too much into that, but we can also talk about kind of the wild things going on with college football.
Of
Uh,
course.
as we've seen, Texas and Oklahoma are planning to move to the SEC, and leaving the Big 12. They announced today that they're going to leave the Big 12, which is I think it was like a 76 million dollars owed to both of those schools. So. We've been talking about in the group chat for the last pretty much all day long, last couple of days as well. What do you think about this, and you think it's beneficial for either of these teams to do so?
I mean, you know as well as I do, the SEC kind of has that sort of zeal about it. It's kind of got that very traditional, sort of old school type of, you know, I would, for lack of a better word, vibe. With Alabama, Auburn, all those LSU, all those historic, storied, schools. So I think recruiting, recruiting wise, I think that could prove mutually beneficial for not only Texas but also Oklahoma, who while they don't exactly struggle with getting recruits because they too are pretty historic teams in their own right. I think that I think by virtue of the fact of just simply moving to the SEC that that could bode well for them, and also you got to think of the matchups, man. Something like Texas, you might get Texas versus like Alabama more often, Oklahoma versus Alabama more often. I mean, that's gonna be fun football, especially with some of the new recruits like Oklahoma's been getting in. Who's that quarterback they just snatched up? Malachi Monroe, I think this is.
Twin. Oh, yeah. I think something
I think
like
this is
that.
yeah,
But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah. So from that alone, like
Yeah,
I
I
think it
mean
could be an interesting
it's
move. Yeah,
yeah, and I know there's been a lot of talk about how are they going to rearrange kind of the SEC. There's been a couple ideas thrown out there. Like the pod idea, where they kind of do it regionally. So like, have like Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Missouri in one, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and I think I can't remember the last team, but they had them in the pod. Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, and then of course Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, kind of the rest
right,
there. I thought that was an interesting idea. And then see, we got our own Ben Glassmeyer, who did a great article on BlueChipSky.com. You guys can check it out. But basically, a possible realignment, how that would look, how it would affect other teams. And there's been talk. I mean, I think there was a report out there that they've reached out to like the SEC has reached out to like Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, a couple other teams to possibly make a 20 team conference, which would just be insane. So
that's what.
yeah, I
That's
mean
that's almost too much. That's almost too much.
yeah, I mean it gets to a point where it's like you're not playing some of these teams for 3 4 years. I mean,
Right.
the SEC already has kind of a rotating schedule where you have those crossover matchups every other year, or every couple years. But imagine having 20 teams trying to come up with a schedule for them, and it's like, how do
It's too
you
much.
do that? You know?
Yeah. I know. In Ben's article, like one thing he did kind of uh, add because he has like a whole, he has like the four now super conferences, I guess. All mapped out. One thing he kind of did was he moved Cincinnati from the Group of Five to the Power Five, which I both love and hate at the same time as the resident AAC scout.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think they're probably gonna move to the Power Five at some point.
Yeah,
I don't
which
I
good
don't
for
know if
them.
it's going to be within the next couple of seasons. Obviously, I think the Texas Oklahoma move wouldn't happen to like 2024, 2025 anyway.
Right.
Um, so I think it could be in the realm of possibility. And then you look at some of these other Big 12 teams. I heard Kansas is looking to join the Big 10, and I think Iowa State maybe has some interest in joining the Big 10. So,
Wait, so you say Kansas and not Kansas State?
yeah.
That's a big ask from if you ask me.
Hey, I mean, for basketball wise, it would be
Basketball
fun.
would be fantastic. Yeah, basketball would be fantastic. But for football, I don't know about all that.
Yeah, that I don't think that would go too well. I
Yeah,
mean, we saw what happened kind of to Rutgers when they first joined. I think, with the interesting thing is though, there's been quite a bit of teams that have actually had success when they joined the conference in the first couple years. Before
right.
then, they started losing some of their recruiting ground. Like that happened to Rutgers, obviously. Like Penn State started taking all of their recruits from New Jersey.
Hmm. Yeah,
And then like with Mizzou, they came in with the SEC title game 2 straight years, and then they have not been anywhere near since. Texas A&M had that one anomaly year with Johnny Manziel. They beat Alabama, but they've
right.
largely haven't had consistent success. So, it's kind of an up and down thing, where some teams have instant success, some take a while, some just never have success. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And, obviously I wanted to talk about that because that was a hot topic over the
Of course.
last couple days, obviously with the news, the brands, the big brands moving to SEC. I mean, we could ultimately see a power four instead of power five if the Big 12 decides to disband. So
True.
RIP to Ben because he's our resident Big 12 scout for Blue
Yeah,
Chip Scouting.
he has to burn all
So
his reports now.
yeah,
Delete the files, wipe his hard drive. It's over.
just
His
throw him
fun.
away.
Yeah,
Just
just
throw
throw
him
him
away.
away.
But yeah, so now we're going to kind of transition into talking about some recent prospects that we watch. Both of us are now area scouts. I don't know if I even officially announced that, but I've
You did
taken
not.
over for Austin for the MAC in Mountain West. So I've been filing, trying to get a report in almost every day to try and catch up a little bit to some of these other guys who have been putting in some great work this summer. Obviously you, Nick,
Hmm.
Dante, Tyler Browning, Mike, who isn't on the stream today. We've all been doing some awesome work, so definitely want to give you guys a shout out for that. But I'll let you go and start first, Nick. Who's some guys you've been watching this week, or you want to highlight?
Well, I've kind of been tackling interior offensive line, much to my own chagrin. Hello, Mike, checking in from work.
So, Mike.
Um, and granted, I didn't have a ton of guys in my conferences to watch, nor is there really and like that one like super standout player. But one guy I do kind of want to highlight is Bobby Dejarro from UTEP. UTEP, famously I produced Will Hernandez a few years ago. I'm not saying Dejarro is the same type of player as uh, Hernandez is, but there are some things to like though. I overall I thought he was fairly solid. He got a fourth round grade from me, mid fourth, mid late fourth. Um, Really solid in pass protection. I thought his anchor was pretty good. Good hip flexibility. Um, Hand placement good overall. Um, he's not like the best mover in the world. Granted, he's not like horribly unathletic, but there are some points where I don't think you really want him leading, on poles and stuff like that. He's more of like, you know, I don't think he's like really ready for that yet, or not ready for that, but you know what I mean. He's not athletic. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry, everybody. I'm a little bit scattered today. I've had a long week,
All good, man. All good.
but yeah, overall, I kind of like him. He's I'm a little unsure of how he projects just because his athleticism is just kind of like run of the mill. But yeah, with another good season, I mean, he could be a guy we talk about as like a potential day 3 guy. So I like him. Devin, turn it over to you.
Yeah, let me go ahead and answer this real quick. Truckman Lane, thank you for watching the stream. We do stream every Friday, so check us out. We do it at 7 or between sometimes 7 and 7:15. So I just wanted to get that in real quick. But I've been taking quite a let's see here. Mike, showing him real quick too as well. Had to make sure you didn't. He spelled two wrong, so Good job, Mike. But yeah, we're here. We're thriving. But one Mac player I actually want to talk about in the stream that I actually kind of found intriguing. Central Michigan linebacker Troy Brown. He's kind of a smaller size linebacker. He's only 205 pounds, but he plays with his hair on fire. He's like one of those downhill linebackers, comes downhill very quickly, closes space really quickly as well on the perimeter. Times up blitzes very, very well. There's been several plays that I saw on film where he's beating blockers to pulls. He's beating the handoff to the running back. He's right there sometimes when the running back is trying to make a move in the at the line of scrimmage. The thing that kind of stood out about him to me was the fact that he's such a fluid cover guy. Like he's one of those kind of newer type of school linebackers. He used to play safety in high school and transition to linebacker at Central Michigan. So that's kind of where his coverage background comes from. But he does a really good job on running backs and tight ends. Like he's in their hip pocket, especially like running backs choice routes. He doesn't get fooled by any of those moves. He's closing, on short routes as well. Would like to see him get a little bit better in zone. I think he can have a little bit of a higher ceiling there. I think sometimes he gets his eyes in the backfield, get caught up on play action. And he does do a good job, especially in like cover two looks and whatnot, getting to the flat and curl and getting underneath passes like deep outs, comebacks, curls. And I mentioned that in my scouting report on him that's available on Blue Chip Scouting. And for him though, the size is going to be a concern because he's only 205 pounds. Probably is going to be a sub-package coverage linebacker at the next level. Gave him a 5th round grade. He just missed out on a 4th round grade by like 0.3 points in our kind of our grading system. But I really like what he brings to the table. I think he's going to have a role in the league. Also does a good bit of work as well on special teams. But very athletic player, very intriguing player. I think he's easily the best linebacker that I've watched so far in the MAC. And it shows in the film. He's all over the place. So was very intrigued by him and definitely liked what he brought to the table.
Definitely. Now, to kind of keep it the same position,
appreciate you, truck man Lane. I saw he's chilling his Toyota Tacoma, so appreciate you watching. Appreciate you, tuning in.
Full disclosure here. That's probably one of my friends. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, because I drive the exact same vehicle, so it probably is one of them. So whichever one you all is, hello. Anyway, moving on. So I watched a guy that Ryan Roberts kind of shared by proxy. You and I are in that football draft tour group chat. It's one of the guys he kind of tweeted out a while back. Nick Ford from Utah plays center. He also has some experience at left tackle, which I thought was really intriguing. And I didn't get a chance to watch that game, but unfortunately, really overall he's a pretty good player. Super, like he has really, really nice power. He's well put together, for a center, strong legs, strong core. He's able to successfully create natural movement off the line of scrimmage with little issue. It's just like I've noticed with a couple guys this year at this position, he can be a little bit off balance. He's one of those guys who kind of lunges, and I've noticed I noticed a couple of guys who do that this year. So he kind of needs to work on not playing over his feet, kind of stand a bit more square. And he didn't exactly look all that flexible. Like I said, he's similar to Dejarro. He's not like horribly unathletic, but you can tell that, there are some limitations, but I think he'll be fine at the next level. He got a he got a very high 3rd round grade for me. So I think he was hurt last year, if I'm reading that correctly in his bio on Utah's website. So he played hurt last year. Hopefully with another, healthy season, he'll be able to play, to this grade, or he'll even maybe excel. So I really like his projection going forward, and I also managed to check out Mike's guy Adonis Boone. I'm going to say this much just to kind of be quick about it. He's definitely a guard. I don't think I'd want him playing tackle, which is like no offense to him. It's just like I think he will probably be more comfortable playing guard. Anyway, Devin.
Yeah, for sure. I know. I think Mike did an interview actually with Adonis Boone, and was very impressed with his film.
Yes.
So want to give Mike a shout out on that. Um, Me going back to kind of a couple players. So I got one from the Mountain West, one from the MAC. They're both transfer quarterbacks that I want to talk about. The first one I want to talk about first, Terry Wilson from Kentucky. And
Oh.
I watched him, and with sorry, I had to kind of compose myself there, but Terry Wilson, look, I love his story. I think he's a really dynamic athlete. But
Hmm.
kind of going through the report, it was just hard to watch Kentucky's offense because
Yeah.
they're so predictable. First, second down, they're running the ball pretty much, variations of power, quarterback power, quarterback, trap, like all these different kind of run plays. And like their short area pass game is like RPO type stuff. So actually seeing him throw the ball down the field, I did not see
Mhm.
much of on film, just from this
Right.
past season. Like I had to go back to 2018 to find throws like that. They actually stretched the field. So kind of what I seen was he never really got developed as a passer. Like he has
Hmm.
some potential, he has some tools. Like I said, he's a great dual threat quarterback, a great athlete, but he never really has put it together yet. And now he's transferred over to New Mexico, which is why I'm talking about him in the Mountain West. It was kind of a dichotomy because it's like I see some potential there. Like he's really good in the short game. Like he can get the ball out quick, has a quick release, hit slants, curls, outs, stuff like that. But the one area that I thought he may do well in, but I just didn't come away impressed with was his inability throwing on the run. And I thought, since he had like a kind of that dual threat element to him, that you'd be able to
Right.
to kind of complete passes down the field and whatnot. But I saw a lot of passes that ended up floating and just didn't come off crisp off his hands. And like for him, it's like he either makes a decision to run once he's outside of the pocket, or he's throwing the ball away because he can't feel the kind of the pressure around the pocket closing on him. So I gave him a seventh round grade. I think ultimately, he's probably going to be a seventh round flyer. I think that's kind of his ceiling at this point because I don't think him going to New Mexico is going to help him develop
Not
his best
likely.
game further.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
they run a spread option type of thing too. So I think they're pretty much going to use him in kind of that area.
Right.
Didn't really see him, like I said, throw the ball down the field. He did have some good placement, some good touch on, vertical passes to the boundary, but to the field, it just hung up in the air way too long. So, gave him a seventh round grade. Thought he would be a little better than I, was expecting because he has such a great, uh, you know, story. Brought a lot of wins to Kentucky. They beat Florida for the first time, I think, in like 31 years, a couple years ago. Sorry, Fornes and Harbs, for throwing that in there. I know you guys are big Florida fans, but just wanted to bring that up too quick. And then the other quarterback I want to talk about real quick was former Michigan State quarterback Rocky Lombardi, who transferred over
Cool.
to Northern Illinois. Another kind of quarterback that just like didn't really put it all together. Like he has great size, he has great deep ball touch, but in terms of accuracy, in terms of footwork, it's kind of all over the place.
Right.
And I gave him a UDFA grade because of some of those deficiencies he has as a quarterback. He's just not very mobile. Doesn't really show the ability to get outside the pocket consistently. Just not that great of an athlete in general. And he there were times, like I said, he played really well against Michigan. That's kind of his big one. And going to throw Jared right there in the chat. What's up, Jared? And just didn't really do it consistently enough. Like throwing the football over the middle, throwing, between the hashes, timing, everything was a little bit off with him. So that's why I ended up giving him a UDFA grade. I think he can, I think he can maybe work himself in a late round draft pick, but ultimately I think he's going to be a camp body that, gets that camp invite, has kind of another arm in camp, but his ceiling has kind of already been capped. I think, he can throw the deep ball, decently well, not going to blow you away. Like, he can fit it into a nice window over the shoulder. But, in terms of actually, throw the ball over the field, I think he's pretty limited in that kind of theory.
Right. Yeah. With Lombardi, like, I mean, the only bit I saw from him is oh, I don't know about that, Jared.
Yeah, I think he's just trolling.
He's trolling. He is trolling.
Yeah, because other people said it. But go ahead and finish on your thought on Lombardi.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Big Ten's not my conference, so, and I've only seen Lombardi out of my periphery just watching college football last year. So, I mean, making the move probably to the to a lower level competition. Let's we'll it might prove fruitful for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I, like you said, like from what I could ascertain, like his ceiling's pretty much capped. Yeah, like you said. So, unless you want to hear me blabber on about another interior offensive lineman, because at this point I just hear repeating myself. Although I do have something funny to tell you, that funny to share. I was watching Tyler Linderbaum the other day. As I'm watching him against Minnesota, the only bit of I'm the only bit of notes that I kind of wrote down there for a little while was like, he's good. I don't know what else to say. He's just good. There's no other way to put it into words. Like, he's just good.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player. I mean, he's one of the best centers in college football. I know a lot of people have discussed him as one of the top centers or interior offensive linemen. Either way you want to go with it.
Right.
Jared Patterson from Notre Dame. I've heard his name.
I really liked him. I watched him this afternoon. He's really good. I mean, I know the big thing in scouting is scout the player, not the helmet. But in the case of Iowa and Notre Dame, you kind of have to expect that their offensive line are going to be at least good to halfway decent.
For sure. I mean, they're a factory. There's always a first round, early round type of player. I mean, just last year, you had Liam Eichenberg, Aaron Banks, just a few names there from Notre Dame, Iowa. Obviously, they have Wirfs a couple years ago. They had Alaric Jackson, who I think is going to turn out to be a better pro than he was college player. So I got to give them a shout out for that.
Well, even so, like Notre Dame, like Alex Bars, like he went undrafted in 2019, but the dude still plays. I think he started a few games last year, the year before last for the Bears. So, yeah. Even so, that they're still good. They'll
for
still
sure.
Get something out of it. Just put it that way.
So before I do my last player and we get out of here, I do want to tell you that Jared currently blowing up the comments right now. And his latest comment, let me show you this here.
Jared, you're just trying too hard at this point, man. And also, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, he's been saying some other things. I'm gonna leave them in the comments because they shouldn't even. I'm not even gonna broadcast them because he is trying to attack some of our favorite players. But anyway, just wanted to show that real quick. Back to players though. One last player I want to highlight from the MAC. Running back the Montrel Tuggle. One of the best names that I've gotten to scout this far.
Tuggle and running back. It just
goes
together.
It goes hand in hand. But yeah, I finished up a scout report on him earlier this week. Thought he was a solid back, kind of a late round type of back. I gave him, I believe, a 6th round grade from him. But I really like his vision, his contact balance. Not exactly the fastest or most explosive guy, but his vision helps him find, kind of those cutback lanes. He does a really good job running against the grain in general. There are a lot of times where that front side is, kind of walled off by the defense. He uses his vision, goes out the back door, and is able to pick up nice 15 to 20 chunk yard gains. Something I wrote down in my scouting report as well was that he gets stronger as the game goes along. Like you see him like in the fourth quarter, you think he may be gas. He already has up 20, 25 carries, but he's able to continue to push through and dive for those arm tackles and be kind of that tough yardage back as well. So for me, he kind of has upside on special teams as well because he's their kind of their main returner. In a kick return game, very involved in special teams in general. I think he can be a nice third down back, but Ohio's offense doesn't really use him in that realm.
Right.
So I couldn't. It was kind of hard there to kind of scout that because, he's like I say, he's a smaller guy. I think he's like 5'9", like 215, 220.
Mhm.
But he just isn't used really in pass protection because they use a lot of play action. They use a lot of kind of they don't really do too much drop back for Ohio's offense. So I would like to see him be used more in the passing game. I mean, because he did have 16 receptions in 2019, only had two in 2020 in kind of a shortened season, but he did show
Right.
some ability out of the backfield and would like to see him obviously get better in pass protection. 2019, he was not really good at it. 2020 improved a little bit, but overall, I thought he was a solid player. Kind of one of those late round backs that you may take a chance on. Kind of a rotational guy, I think, at the NFL level. But came away impressed with them. I think it's cool to have some of these smaller conferences because you go through and you find some guys that you like, and he's
Yeah.
definitely one of those players for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Um. Yeah. Like interior offensive line. Like I said at the top. Like my conference isn't exactly you know has a lot of like big name guys from the position. I mean, like Dejarro maybe has a chance to become, like I said, become that day three guy that people you take as a depth piece or someone you eventually groom into a starter. Cole Schneider from UCF was just overall relatively solid. There wasn't anything uh, special about him as a player. There's some areas I think he needs to improve on. Like I think he struggled with sealing off the A gap at times. Like he like just lacked like the pure athleticism to make that jump over and seal off rushers. I do have there's a really interesting player from Tulsa though, guard or excuse me center Gerard Wheeler. He's kind of sort of built like David Moore, to kind of give you all a rough idea of what he looks like. But he's one of those guys who's clearly a guard playing center. I think a position change would do him a world of good. But overall, he's got a draftable grade for me. I think he's like you said, Devin, with Tuggle, he's definitely some guy you take a late round flyer on. Like I said, depth piece, camp body. Like I said, maybe somebody he comes in for you and plays a couple of games. In need of injury. So, but there's good value in that to me. I can't take anything away from that.
For sure. I think, obviously we know, some of the other people, some of the other area scouts have those first, second round guys, but having those late round guys, I mean, that makes up the majority of
Of
NFL
course.
rosters anyway. So gotta for sure give props to that. One last quick thing before we head out for this stream. I was watching Northern Illinois left tackle Marcus Cox, and
I saw that.
the play that I tweeted about, you can check it out on my Twitter. He lined up at receiver on a 2-point conversion and ran a bubble route. And it was the first game I was watching of him. And I think it was one of his first or second starts because he's a redshirt junior, I think, this year. I was a
Right.
redshirt freshman in that game against Vandy. And he actually fared pretty well. He had a couple, nice reps against Dayo Odiingbo, that got drafted this past year.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was crazy watching that play, because I don't expect the offensive lineman to run a bubble route and actually hold a defender. I mean, they threw
Right.
it backside, obviously, but I think that just shows you that you really can dive into some of these conferences and find players and unique things that you wouldn't see. And I
Mm.
thought that was a cool play, and probably going to finish up his evaluation tomorrow. But he seems like a pretty decent player. Still has some work to do. I think he's still growing as a player, but very interested to do his final evaluation.
Yeah, definitely. I always like big man touchdowns. As a big man myself, played offensive line. You love to see it. Anyway, I have nothing else left. Like I said, I don't want to keep repeating myself talking about interior offensive linemen. So
Yeah,
I I,
yeah,
I know our guy Lorenz from NFL Draft Bible. He tried to like turn me to the dark side and get me on that love for interior offensive linemen. Can't do it. Nose tackles with you all day on nose tackles, like guards and centers. Can't do it. Not interested. It
definitely
doesn't
understandable.
doesn't appeal to me.
Well, that's going to wrap up our Big Shots Extra episode number 8. You can follow me on Twitter at RealD_Jackson. You can follow Nick on Twitter at PriceCheck3. You can follow our Blue Chip Scouting main account at Blue Chip Scout. Well, obviously, if you guys are watching on Twitter, but if you're watching on YouTube, you can follow that account to be updated on our latest scouting reports, articles, etc. Check out all our work at bluechipscouting.com. And you can check out the Big Shots NFL Draft podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you guys want to check it out, make sure to leave a review. And I think that will do it for this episode. I hope you guys have a great Friday, and we'll see you guys next week.